How much do you love shooting review videos?
Oh, it's the best.
What's going on, you guys? My name is Mo from Awesome MTB, and today we're going to talk about the differences between the Ibis Mojo HD5 and the Ibis Ripmo. Now, by the end of this video, you guys should have a pretty good idea in who the HD5 is for and who the Ripmo is for. And in all honesty, this is also probably going to play into the debate of 27.5 versus 29. So you should know what wheel size might be right for your next bike as well. Now, before we get into the video, a little bit about us. We do ride 4 Ibis cycles, so they do sponsor the channel, and we have had a good amount of time on both the HD5 as well as the Ripmo, the older HD4, and a couple of other Ibis bikes as well. So we feel like we know the lineup pretty well to make this video and make our suggestion to you. Another cool thing with this video, if you do follow the channel, you'll probably have seen that Hannah used to ride an Ibis Ripmo and she now rides an HD5. And the reason for that is she actually tends to prefer the HD5 over the Ripmo. She'll definitely chime in on her switch and why she prefers one over the other. Let's go ahead and break down both bikes. I am curious though, before we start breaking everything down, which one do you think you guys would ride right off the back? The Ibis Ripmo or the HD5? Let me know in the comment section. But yeah, so let's go ahead and break down the bikes. For the Ibis Ripmo, the Ibis Ripmo is probably one of my personal favorite bikes in the Ibis lineup, and it has 145 millimeters of rear travel, 160 millimeters of front travel, 29-inch wheels with a 65.9 degree head angle. Now, that head angle isn't necessarily the slackest. They did end up slackening the Ripmo AF about a degree slacker. So if you want something a little bit more aggressive, there also is that bike in their lineup. However, we're talking about the Carbon Ripmo, which I feel like is a really good do-everything bike. Now, for the HD5 is a classic, almost like a bike that I personally feel like will never go away. Breaking it down, it has 153 mils of travel in the rear, 170 mils of travel up front, 27.5-inch wheels, and a very slack 64.2 degree head angle. So the differences that Ibis made to the HD5 this year are the traction tune. So they basically made the suspension a little bit softer, a little bit faster. And when I was talking to the engineer, one of the reasons behind this was trying to eliminate the differences between 27.5 and 29. With the 29er, you definitely get a little bit more rollover, and what the traction tune was hoping to accomplish, or one of those goals, was to essentially mimic the rollover of the 29er on the 27.5-inch platform, but through suspension. Now, tech specs aside, let's start going into who these bikes are for and doing quick reviews on both bikes. So starting off with climbing and pedaling, I'm also going to be starting with the HD5. Ibis is definitely known as a company that makes bikes that pedal well no matter how much travel they have. I don't know how they do it. Pretty amazing. The DW Link suspension combined with how they design their bikes, you really get bikes that are just very efficient both in and out of the saddle, and the HD5 is definitely no exception to that. The only drawback I feel like to the HD5 when you're comparing it to the Ripmo is that slack head angle. So you definitely feel like the front end tends to wander slightly. It is at 64.2, so that is fairly slack for a bike of that category. So that is something to consider, is you do have to focus on keeping that front end stable, so just shifting your body weight down a little bit more so than you would do on the Ripmo. The other thing with the HD5 is it does have 27.5-inch wheels, and in my personal experience, I do feel like with 27.5 versus 29, the 27.5 is a little bit easier to pedal. It's a little bit easier to get that wheel rolling. That sounds crazy, but for whatever reason, that's how it feels for me. Now, when it comes to efficiency though, I do feel like I cover ground a little bit more efficiently on the 29er. So that's just something, if I was to go for the same ride on both bikes and climb the same amount, I would feel like I did less work on the 29er, even though the 27.5-inch bike, I would feel great on, almost like the climbs are a little bit easier. And that's just because the wheel is a little bit smaller. So now with the Ripmo, so when the Ripmo first came out, I kind of knew it was going to be a great climber, it being that mid-travel 29er category, and just all the numbers looking right on paper. And when you ride that thing, you definitely feel that. It feels like a mountain goat on the uphills. The head angle isn't necessarily the slackest, so you don't have to force that front end down as much. The seat angle is very steep as well, so you do feel like you're on top of that bottom bracket. It does have 29-inch wheels, and like I mentioned in the HD5, 29ers I feel like are a little bit tougher to kind of get rolling, so it might feel a little tougher on some climbs. But with that being said, I do feel like I cover a lot more ground more efficiently on the 29er, so I don't know, I just feel like at the end of my ride, I'm a little less fatigued, even though it definitely feels a little bit more difficult than these smaller wheels on steep, prolonged climbs. So now for the fun part, the descending. And this is one where I feel like a lot of you guys are gonna be most interested in. When I say versatile, I kind of talk about bikes for my riding style. I love having a bike that's gonna be efficient both up and at the same time handle anything I throw at it down. And I feel like both of these bikes do a very good job, just in different ways. So starting off with the HD5, 64.2 degrees for the head angle, I think is enough said there. With that 153 mils of travel in the rear and 170 mil fork, that thing is absolutely a beast on the downhills. Hannah has definitely been tearing it up all over BC, Thailand, wherever she is. And you can definitely tell on the HD5 that it really likes to kind of pick a line and go straight. With that being said, it also has a very short compact chainstay as well. So you have a nice control from the rear end of the bike, but you have that stability from the front end. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. Other thing with the HD5 is gonna be the wheel size. So talking about the 27.5-inch wheels, definitely a little bit more maneuverable than the 29ers. So if you're on a trail that's very steep and it has really tight corners, then you are gonna notice the HD5 might feel a little less overbearing, and you don't have to man or woman handle the bike as much so on that descent. So that is something to keep in mind. Little wheels, a little bit more maneuverable, a little bit easier to kind of flick around. You do lose a little bit in the rollover department compared to 29ers. However, I think that's where Ibis definitely made up for it in the head angle. Now for the Ripmo, I've definitely put in a ton of miles on this bike and can really say it definitely handles essentially all of what I've thrown at the bike. Granted, the head angle isn't necessarily the slackest. I do feel like what it misses in the slack department, it definitely makes up with both the wheel size as well as the suspension. You have 160 mil fork up front, big 29-inch wheels, so the rollover is there. So you don't necessarily need this bike to be the slackest. I do have the AF that I've been riding as well, and I feel like with the AF, it's a degree slacker. I do sometimes miss the preciseness that the carbon Ripmo does offer. And that's what I want to talk about with the descending, is how precise this bike is. I really feel like when I'm going down a trail and it's steep and it's kind of tight and twisty, even though it's not as maneuverable as a 27.5-inch bike when it comes to steeper corners, I do feel like the steeper head angle compared to the HD5 allows me the ability to really just put the bike exactly where I want it. And that's not to say that it's not stable. It's still very stable. Like I said, it has the rollover from the wheels, it has all that travel, but at the same time, it's a little bit more compact than if they would to make this bike with the same head angle as the HD5. So I do really like the preciseness. I can put the bike exactly where I want it, corner after corner. And like I said, it definitely handles its own over chunky, rugged terrain. And I've definitely had a blast on this. At the end of the day though, no matter what I say, the best way to kind of get a feel for yourself is to actually demo both bikes. And someone who has ridden both bikes and actually started off with the Ripmo but now prefers the HD5 is Hannah the Ripper, or Hannah the Kook if you guys follow her on Instagram. So we're gonna get her feedback and why she switched from the Ripmo to the HD5.
So I should probably introduce myself. My name is Hannah, other half of Awesome MTV. I don't really do more review style videos, that's more Mo's forte, but I will give you my opinion on the Ripmo versus the HD5. So let's get started. So before I even had the Ripmo, I actually had the HD4 and I absolutely love that bike. I had it for about 2 years, I think, and I loved it, but I wanted to try something new. Mo is getting into 29ers and I thought, hey, maybe I should try that too. So I picked up the Ripmo and I absolutely loved it, but it did feel a little bit overwhelming on downhills, especially when things got a bit steeper. Not to say that it's gonna feel overwhelming for you, but for me, the rollover was quite fast and I found myself on really steep technical sections to be going a little bit faster than I would have liked. Maybe that's just my bike handling skills, and maybe I am just better suited for a 27.5-inch wheel. So I decided to make the switch to the HD5 and I haven't looked back. I love my HD5. I feel a little bit more in control when things get steep, and with corners, obviously since it's a smaller wheel size, I feel like I do have a little bit more control and I can kind of get through corners a little bit faster. So very happy with my decision. I do think I will be riding my Ripmo more when we get back to the States, which should be around Christmas.
Let's be real, we're never leaving.
Yeah, I don't know if we're ever gonna leave.
So there you guys have it. Those are the differences between the Ibis HD5 and the Ibis Ripmo. Hopefully we've helped you guys out just a tad in your next bike buying expedition. If you guys have any other questions, definitely let us know in the comment section, and be sure to send this video to someone who's in the market as well, because we love helping people out there. And if you guys can't, hit that like button, it helps us out a ton. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you want to keep up with our Thailand adventures. It's really awesome here. We're about to go to the International Enduros. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and until next time, you guys, ride awesome. Yew!